What's up, everyone? We're just kicking off 2022 here in Nashville, Tennessee, and the housing market is still absolutely crazy. We've got tons of people moving here from all over, and there's just no signs of it slowing down yet. And why? Because Nashville is awesome, obviously. But with that in mind, I want to talk about the top 10 things that you need to know before moving to Nashville in 2022. So let's go ahead and get right into it. If this is your first time visiting my channel, my name is Jennifer Gramling, and I'm a real estate agent here in the Nashville and surrounding areas. And I just put out weekly videos trying to help you get more familiar with Nashville. If you're thinking about moving here, if you're thinking about relocating, you'll definitely want to subscribe so that you can be the first to see these videos as they're coming out. And if you have any questions at all regarding that, be sure to reach out to me. I'm helping people relocate every day, just like you. My contact information is in the comments, so be sure to reach out. Okay, so let's jump right into it and let's talk about the top 10 things that you need to know before moving to Nashville in 2022. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is the job economy. So our job economy here is booming, and Nashville's been known to be the healthcare capital of the world. So if this is the industry you are in, you are coming to the right place. According to the Nashville Healthcare Council, the Nashville healthcare industry contributes an overall economic benefit of $67 billion and more than 328,000 jobs to the local economy annually. And globally, Nashville healthcare industry generates more than $95 billion in revenue and more than 500,000 jobs. More than 500 healthcare companies have operations in Nashville, and it's also home to nearly 400 professional service firms that provide expertise in the healthcare industry. And aside from healthcare, Nashville is home to many other large companies, with many more seeing the benefits and more moving here regularly. New research shows that Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee in particular, is now the second most popular destination for companies fleeing California, just behind Texas. Some of those companies that are fleeing are Kaiser Aluminum, Mitsubishi, who's moving closer to its sister company Nissan, which is one of the largest employers in the area, Amazon, who is creating 10,000 jobs alone just in the Nashville yards, and Oracle, who's investing $1.2 billion into East Nashville and creating about 8,500 jobs. And those are just a few of the companies moving here to take advantage of the business-friendly environment. All that, and let's not forget about the tourism and the music industry either. These are a huge cornerstone of our business and job opportunities here in Nashville. That industry is always strong, so we definitely can't leave them out. Truly, Nashville has something for everyone as far as jobs go, which is one of the reasons why so many people are moving here. Number two, we're gonna talk about the housing market. So what you need to know is that the housing market is absolutely on fire, if you didn't know that already. As you can see from the previous point, lots of people are moving here for jobs. And many more people are moving here just because they can. Because now being able to work from home is a possibility for so many more people. Being able to work from anywhere, it's opened up possibilities for people to live in so many different places than they were living before. And being able to work from wherever they choose has given them the opportunity to be able to move somewhere like Nashville, where they may have wanted to move before, but just couldn't because of their job. So with this large influx of people, obviously there's been a huge demand for homes. So this has really affected so many different areas, and not just Nashville, but people have moved all over to be closer to family, to get more land, to get more space. People are just moving outside of where they were now because they can. So this hasn't just affected Nashville's housing market, it's affected housing markets all over the country. And really, it's just had a huge effect on supply and demand. But certain markets are certainly more tough than others, and Nashville definitely fits into one of those tougher markets to buy a house in right now. Zillow named Nashville as the number 6 on the list of hottest markets for 2022, and we are definitely feeling it. So one thing to note, like a lot of the rest of the country, prices here have been rising dramatically. So as you can see, in the past year, prices in Nashville have risen 15.2%. In Wilson County, they've gone up 15.4%. And in Williamson County, they've gone up 23.6%. So they are steadily increasing as time goes on, and you can expect to pay more for your home in 3 months than you can right now. But hopefully you're gaining equity in your current home, which will offset what you're paying here as you spend more on your house here. And with that shortage of homes on the market, that doesn't mean that we can't find you a home. You just need the right help. So let's take a look at the data. So if you look at this graph, courtesy of our MLS, in January of 2019, there were 3,029 homes for sale. And as you can see now, in January of 2022, we have 2,591 homes for sale. So obviously we're about 400 to 500 homes short of where we were a few years ago. So you would think that home sales would be down. However, if you look at how many home sales there were, we went from 9,509 sales in January of 2019 to now 11,389 in January of 2022. Now, what does that mean? It seems like with less houses on the market, there would be less home sales, and that is just not the case. So many more homes are being sold off market. Many new builds are being sold without ever hitting the MLS, and deals that are not found by browsing on some of these real estate websites are the ones that you need to find. Those are going to be found through your agent being on top of it and finding those deals. And believe it or not, I've not had one homeless client yet. So all that to say, it's definitely not impossible. Let me know if you're wanting to start looking at possibilities. We can definitely iron out a plan for you and find your dream home here in the Nashville area. It's not impossible, they are out there. Okay, so the third thing we want to talk about if you're thinking about moving to Nashville is that you're going to want to keep an open mind when you're trying to consider where you're going to live. So a lot of people come here, they have definite ideas about neighborhoods they want to live in, or which part of town, which suburb, or if they want to be East Nashville or West Nashville. And especially if you haven't even been here yet, you really want to keep an open mind until you come and you're able to see some of the areas and able to see some of the houses and things that are available to you. I mean, one thing is that just when you get here, things may look a little different than they looked online. So as many videos as we send you and different clips and things, you can try to make up your mind about a place, but until you really get in there and feel it for yourself, you don't necessarily know. And also, as we mentioned before, the housing market is just going crazy. So number one, there's not a whole lot of availability, and there may not be something available in the definite neighborhood that you want to be in. So you have to keep an open mind and look other places. I promise you that some of these suburbs, you may be in love with one of them, but you may go to another and find that you love it just as much, or you love another one even better. And all of the wonderful things that they have going on in West Nashville, if that all of a sudden is out of your reach and out of your price point, I guarantee you may love East Nashville even more. So you may have your heart set on one place and you may get here and love it just as much. And hopefully we can find you your perfect house in that place. But maybe if you get here and you find out that there's not as many places available in the neighborhood that you want to be in, and you can go explore somewhere else, or if it suddenly becomes out of reach because the pricing has increased, just be open to looking at other areas and checking out other parts of town to see how you may like those as well. Okay, so the fourth thing you should know about moving to Nashville is that there is always something going on in Nashville. I mean, obviously there is music, that goes without saying. You'll have concerts that fill arenas and fill stadiums, but you'll also have plenty of small venues where you can see all kinds of up-and-coming artists, and sometimes those are the best places to see people. Or you might get surprised by a huge star that just decides to jump up on stage at Tootsie's or some other small place, a hole in the wall, and all of a sudden some big star gets up and starts singing. Believe it or not, this happens more times than you might think. There are going to be huge music festivals here like Bonnaroo and Pilgrimage Festival and CMA Fest. And there's free outdoor concerts like the ones at Centennial Park, which are super fun to just grab your blanket and go and sit out and listen to free music. And of course, there's always Broadway where you can go see someone playing covers in the honky-tonks, even at 10 a.m. if you're up for it. There are tons of sports. We obviously have the Tennessee Titans for football, we have the Predators for hockey, the Nashville Soccer Club, which is a newer Major League Soccer team, and they're just finishing up its new stadium in downtown, and it's the largest in North America. And we also have the Nashville Sounds, which is a minor league baseball team that is very well loved around here. And we have people like Justin Timberlake who are trying to bring Major League Baseball here as well. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before we have that too. And don't forget, we have Vanderbilt Sports along with all of our other universities that are in the area, which is a lot and too many to mention. And if you're looking for awards shows, we have all of those. We have the ACMs, the CMAs, and the Dove Awards all happening in downtown Nashville. We have beer festivals and food festivals and Shakespeare in the Park and probably any other kind of festival that you could think of. And we even have the Jack Daniel's World Championship Invitational Barbecue. And if that isn't enough, just walking around on Broadway and hitting up some of the bars for a beer can be really fun as well. And if that's not for you, then you can certainly escape and get to some of the outlying, peaceful areas that exist as well. You can head out to the lake, of which we have many. We have Old Hickory, Percy Priest, and Center Hill Lake. We also have Tim's Ford Lake, which is down south towards Manchester. Lots of different places where you can get out and enjoy some water sports. You can go canoeing or kayaking on the Harpeth River, or go get in a hike at Percy Warner Park, or one of the many other trailheads that are available to you to go hiking on. And you can always, for a peaceful, beautiful day, head out to Cheekwood Gardens or Arrington Vineyards for a picnic on the hill, or go for a drive up the beautiful Natchez Trace Parkway and just enjoy the beautiful scenery that Tennessee has to offer, and end with a snack and Leaper's Fork. So really, no matter what you enjoy, you'll find something amazing to do in Nashville. Okay, so the fifth thing you should know about living in Nashville is going to be about all of the travel opportunities that there are. Being in Nashville, you're located so central to so many different places. Nashville is in such close proximity to so many other cities and so many other cool places to go that you never feel like you're landlocked. So if you love to travel and you love to explore, you're close to so many really cool places. Within just a few hours drive, you can get to Memphis. You can go and visit Graceland or have some amazing barbecue. You're only about 3.5, 4 hours from the Smoky Mountains. So if you want to go hike or you want to go to Dollywood, then you're really just a short drive from there. You can enjoy Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. You can even go skiing in Gatlinburg or hiking in the mountains. And while we do have lakes here in Nashville, some of the very best lakes are also going to be in East Tennessee and Knoxville, or there's a huge lake that's amazing for fishing down in Kentucky that's also very close. But the lakes in Knoxville are another great place to go and rent a house, take your boat, put it on the water, and spend an entire week there. So you're really just a short drive from there. You're also only 4 hours from Atlanta, and you're also only going to be about an hour and 15-minute flight from places like Charleston or Savannah, which are fantastic getaways. And then of course, if you want to do what everyone else in this city does, which is spring break and summer and fall break, head on down to 30A in Florida, which is Seaside Beach and the surrounding areas. It's only about a 6.5-hour drive to get down to the Gulf in Florida, where the beaches are absolutely beautiful. And while it feels like you're very far south, you're even still just about a 2-hour flight from places like New York, Washington, D.C., Toronto, believe it or not. So being in such a great location just makes it really easy to go and travel and enjoy other places when you've enjoyed as much of Nashville as you can. Okay, number 6, I need to mention that it does get hot and it does get cold here in Tennessee. So for those of you people who are moving in from somewhere where the climate is always the same, or you've got temperate climate all year long, just know that it is going to get hot and it is going to get cold. And I know I've covered this in many other videos and we've talked about it before, but just here to reiterate, we do have all 4 seasons. So you are going to have a beautiful springtime. It's going to have lots of rain and bring green grass, and it's going to be some of the most beautiful weather that you've ever seen. Also, summers and falls are really beautiful too. There are going to be a couple months within that summertime where it is going to get pretty hot and it's going to get really humid. But I will say for the rest of the year, actually the humidity is pretty low, and I don't feel the humidity for most of the year except for those 2 to 3 months during the summertime when it does get pretty hot and pretty sticky. And then in the wintertime, you are going to have some winter weather. It is going to get cold. We've had some weeks this year where it was down in the 20s and you definitely felt it. It was really cold. And we have had a decent amount of snow this year too. So I know I always say it only snows just a little tiny bit, but this year we have had a few decent snows. So you do want to be prepared for that. And you should just know that when it does snow, it's really beautiful, so you should enjoy it. And all the town will shut down. So you are going to need to know that there are going to be plenty of people on your city's Facebook page who are going to be commenting and asking how are the roads. Just know that people here in the South are not really used to that much snow on the roads. And so it is a little bit different though. So having lived in Colorado, I was definitely used to driving in the snow. And there are many people here I know who kind of look at it and laugh a little bit to themselves when we have school off. But you should know that it actually is different here. So the roads are very windy. There's not a lot of shoulder. There's not a lot of room for error if you're sliding or it's slippery or it's icy. Just sliding a foot off the road will put you in the ditch. And they don't treat our roads here unless you're in a more main area. But once you get out to some of the outlying suburbs, the roads aren't treated. So if you're coming from a place that gets a lot of snow, they're probably salting the roads and treating them in some way, plowing them, and that just doesn't happen here. And when you get on some of these back roads where it's really windy and there's a lot of shade, those roads don't have a chance to dry out. So most likely, if we're getting snow and we're getting ice, you're gonna have several days off work and several days off school. You may look out your window and it may look dry to you and you may laugh, but you should just sit back and enjoy it because that's just the way it is here. But like I said, many of our seasons are so beautiful. You're just gonna have a couple of months where it's pretty hot, a couple months where it's really cool, but those seasons really make you enjoy the rest of the year so much more. Okay, so number 7 is hot chicken. So when you live in Nashville, everyone who comes to visit you, they're all gonna ask you to go have hot chicken. And you're gonna see it everywhere you go. So you might wanna know what it is and you might wanna learn a little bit about it, and you definitely wanna try it, unless you're a vegetarian, of course. Okay, so the story goes that this was developed maybe sometime back in the 30s here in Nashville. And what it was revenge chicken for a girlfriend trying to get back at her man for being out there with another girl. So in the morning, she made him his regular fried chicken, but she made it really hot with extra pepper, extra spice, just to get a little bit of revenge. But as the story goes, he loved it so much that he eventually made his own recipe and opened his own restaurant. And that would have been the Prince family, now founders of Prince's Hot Chicken. But you are literally gonna see hot chicken shacks on every corner. And this is definitely a Nashville favorite, so you're gonna wanna give it a chance. And as I mentioned, Prince's Chicken is not the only one in town. A lot of people love Hattie B's, there's Bishop's Chicken, and many, many others. But if you're not into spicy, that's okay, because guaranteed they will also serve you regular fried chicken, and who doesn't love that, served on delicious bread with pickle chips. So if you're gonna be here, if you're gonna be in Nashville, hot chicken, fried chicken, these are all gonna have to become a part, at least partially, of your diet. So go ahead and give it a chance. All right, so moving on to number 8. We're gonna talk about bad drivers. Okay, so now I know every single city has their fair share of bad drivers, but I'm here to tell you, and I'm just being honest, I think that Nashville maybe has some of the worst drivers around. And if there was an award for the worst driving city, we might actually get it. And I'm not the only one that's noticed. People comment on this all the time. And if you go out on some kind of forum and ask what's one of the downfalls or one of the cons of living in Nashville, it's gonna be the driving. I mean, it will be nothing to be driving 80 on the freeway and have 2 cars going 120 going on each side of you around and weaving in and out of traffic. And always just people speeding. It amazes me. And also going east on 40, sometimes it just shocks me. Driving on the freeways between Nashville and Knoxville, people drive like they're on the Autobahn, so you just need to watch out. And while you can stay steady and cool on the freeway while people are speeding around you, you'll just want to be careful when you're driving on some of the back roads. Because like I mentioned previously, a lot of our roads on the back roads, they're going to be more windy, they're not going to have much shoulder, so you're always going to want to be paying attention. You don't want to be on your phone. You always want to be watching out for other people's driving on these roads, because some of these drivers have extra lead in their feet. Okay, and piggybacking off that point, for number 9 is going to be the traffic. So while there's a lot of speeders and a lot of people going really fast, there's also a lot of traffic. So we got a little spoiled for a while with people not going into work and not having a lot of people on the roads, but that's really starting to resolve itself, and there's starting to be more and more people going back to work, going back to their offices, and therefore there's a lot more traffic. So you're just gonna wanna map out your routes. So depending on where you're thinking about living, you might wanna map it, or even I've had clients come and just drive it. So if there's a particular neighborhood they like, they might come and drive that at 7 a.m. in the morning or 8 a.m. in the morning whenever they would be going to work, wherever that might be, and just kind of feeling out and seeing how long that commute is. But definitely the traffic is starting to get a lot worse. And different highways obviously are worse than different parts of the day. I-24 is kind of known for being a little worse. I-65 is starting to get a little worse. And then I-40 in the mornings and afternoons can be really bad too. So hopefully with your job, you may have a little bit of flexibility of when you can drive. That is always a bonus if you can go in at 7 and beat the rush. But as more and more people continue to move into the area, it's obviously going to get a lot more congested, especially on some of the side roads. If you're living in some of the suburbs, those little 2-lane roads, they're the only ways in and out of those suburbs. And so those are going to continue to just get more congested. And the cities and towns are working hard to figure out how they can expand those roads and make commutes and travel easier for everyone. But there's a lot of growing pains with the amount of people who are moving into town right now. And it has caused a lot of problems on the road and a lot of extra traffic that was not foreseen. Some of these towns just started being built up in the last few years and have seen thousands of people move in, thousands of new people on the roads. And these little country roads and side roads just weren't quite made for that. And all of the freeways downtown, they're constantly trying to expand them. They're always doing work on them, trying to make them better, which obviously causes a little bit more congestion in and of itself, but it just doesn't seem to be keeping up. So if you have to drive, if you have a commute, if you're not working from home and have to go places at certain times, just be aware that you might get stuck in traffic and just mentally prepare yourself for that. Okay, and the number 10 thing you need to know if you're moving to Nashville this year is just to be patient with yourself and to give yourself time to adjust. So moving is hard, and people tend to forget that, I think, and you get so caught up in the excitement of going somewhere new, or maybe you're even a little apprehensive about moving and it wasn't necessarily your choice. But moving changes literally everything in your life, and it's not as easy as just picking up and starting over where you just left off. So I always tell everyone, give yourself a good solid year. In a year's time, you start to make more friends, you start to get familiar with your surroundings, you start to get into a routine, and you start to really know the area. And I've really noticed that after about a year, you really start to sink in and put those roots down. I can honestly say there's not a lot of places that I'd rather live than Nashville, and it's an absolutely wonderful place, but it does just take time to adjust. It's obviously going to be different from where you're moving from, so give yourself that time, and you'll start to meet those people. You'll start to make that sphere of friends. You'll get comfortable here, and you'll really love it. Okay, so those are the top 10 things that you need to know if you're moving to Nashville in 2022. Again, my name is Jen Gramling, and I'm a realtor here in the Nashville area. If you have any questions at all about moving or relocating, be sure to reach out to me. I'd be glad to answer any and all of your relocating questions. I'm helping people just like you every day in making these big decisions when they're moving to Nashville, so be sure to reach out. I'd be happy to help. Again, my information is in the comments. You can find it there. Feel free to text, call, however you want to reach out. Thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next video.